been 45 years since you could buy a brand new Chevrolet Chevelle, but now you sort of can. I'm Fox News Autos editor Gary Gastelou, and joining me in the Fox Garage to talk about the Chevelle-inspired 70 SS is Trans Am Worldwide President Todd Warmack. Welcome.
Thank you, Gary. Appreciate you having me.
So just to bring people up to speed, Trans Am Worldwide started out converting modern Camaros into 1970s Firebird Trans Am lookalikes because Pontiac was out of business and there was never going to be a new Trans Am. You've now taken that idea and applied it to the 1970 Chevrolet Chevelle SS and using the Camaro as the basis for that. A little bit different here. Chevelle and the Camaro weren't the same car the way the Camaro and the Firebird were. So tell me how you made this happen.
So first of all, this, and you probably well know this, we not only did the Trans Am, we did our version of the GTO 69 version, hideaway headlights on the 5th gen platform. It was back then that the idea for the Chevelle came about. Probably I'm going back to 2014 or so. But what we needed to do to be able to change all the body components, all the exterior, is to start with a convertible. And that way we can literally remove the quarter panels, which is the most difficult part to remove from the car, under a protocol to replace them without tying into the roof line and creating body work. So now we can do that, and by doing that, we start with CAD data. We take that CAD data and we re-engineer it to look like the body that we want to emulate, and then from there we can rescale it, proportion it, and then just start surfacing the design, and then eventually come up with what you see today.
And by not having the roof with the convertible, you actually were able to make a hardtop roof, removable hardtop that looks a little bit more like the Chevelles would.
Exactly, and that's what the plan is. There's actually several changes to the pilot car that you see now. That being one, that's going to be an option. So the customer can actually option to have the removable hardtop, which will actually give them both. So when the hardtop is not on, they have the soft top to come up or down. Or if they want to leave the hardtop on, they're welcome to do that. The other changes are going to be on the interior. From the pilot car that you saw, we're changing the console, actually going with a retro. The automatics will have the old horseshoe shifter. And we're changing the steering wheel, a couple small items on the interior, but for the most part, the exterior is going to be the same. We will offer a chrome bumper package, and probably also offer the chrome wheel well trim as well.
So of all the Chevrolet models over the years, why the Chevelle? Was this one that you had a fancy for, or was this something your customers were asking you to build?
No, it definitely was a personal preference. My brother and I grew up in the back of the Chevelle, so there was even though we were most well known for the Trans Ams, that actually didn't come along in our lives till late high school. The Chevelle, however, was something that as little kids, Mom used to tote us around, and she had a 396 4-speed, and it always stuck with me. And I knew when we started this business, and especially when we branched out to do the GTO, I knew the Chevelle was going to come down the pike one day. I was just going to have to figure out how to make it happen.
You haven't just changed the way it looks. You also offer some pretty powerful upgrades, 900 and 1,500 horsepower engines. Yeah. Is that right?
It's crazy, isn't it? So yeah. So we basically have three basic packages. So you start with the LT1 as an entry level, and then we can supercharge that. That's the low hanging fruit. Then we move to a different engine platform where we now offer a 396, and we have that in basically two versions: an 800 at the wheel or a 900 at the wheel. The pilot car that you saw was an 800 at the wheel. It was actually 807 is what it dynoed. Then from there, we're doing a very limited number of only 25 of the 454s, kind of reminiscent of the LS6 back in the day, the holy grail for the 70s Chevelle. We call it the LS6X, and we're only going to do 25 of those. That particular engine will come in 3 different horsepower options. So it's going to come in a 900, 1,000, and a 1,500. The 1,500 is the twin turbo, and then the customer is going to have the option to go with a sequential transmission if they want, The beauty about that package, or the one right below it, the 1,000 horsepower, which is also a twin turbo package, is that now we're able to modulate the boost, whereas with a supercharger, it's all or nothing. Now we can modulate it to come on as you need it, and we eliminate a lot of the slip. And keep in mind, in those applications, those exotic high-end horsepower, we're changing all the a lot of the drivetrain too, or most all of it. And so that actually helps with stability. It helps with traction, good sticky tires now. And we've tested this out on a couple of other, or actually a Super Duty and a Bandit that came back for upgrades. So we experimented with those and came up with a combination that really impressive for traction control.
Are people buying a retro 1,500 horsepower Chevelle inspired car to take it to a drag strip, or are they just cruising down the boulevard with that and burning a lot of tires?
Yeah, I would say the latter for sure. Very few of our customers go to the drag strip. They want the limited editions. That seems to be what always goes first. After that, they want all the bells and whistles. And so then their car has the pedigree of having everything that was offered. And as we look back and what we've done so far, you take the Bandit cars, which were out of the box, we were selling them for the 840 package, like 165. I mean, if you can find one in the, it's going to be over two today, usually on the secondary market, 220, 230 in that range. Same thing with the Super Duties. That was an edition of only 50. This one's only going to be 25. And so I think it, hopefully it maintains and appreciates, just like the Bandit and the Super Duty did for us.
Prices start at 150,000. You've built a couple of hundred of the Camaros. The Trans Ams. What's a full boat, 1,500 horsepower, everything it's got, gonna run me?
So that's gonna that depends on some of the other options, but let's just say that it's gonna be in the 230 range. And then if you want the sequential transmission, if you want the exposed carbon fiber, that would be a little extra.
And who is it that's buying these? Are they car collectors that have a bunch of classic cars they don't want to drive because they're worth too much and they're too old, or is it a whole different market?
That would definitely, the collectors are a big segment of our market. Most of them are guys that just, the everyday guys that grew up either with the cars or one in one and couldn't afford one back in the day. Now, they've got 40 years of work behind them. They have some discretionary funds now that they can throw at their toys. And this is a car that they'd like to have. And I think, Resto Mods, as you well know, is a big business. Our sister company, and my brother runs Trans Am Depot. He does a lot of that. And what we find is that, even in those, you can spend $150,000 pretty easy, but you still end up with an old car. With the newer platforms, you've got something you can get in and with confidence drive around the country and not have to worry about it, the little things that you always have to deal with in the older models.
So I got to ask you, you've done the Trans Am, you've done the GTO, you've done the Chevelle. Any other classic GM products you've got your eye on?
We actually do. There's at least two more that we have our eyes on. Our engineers are working on that now. We're actually at a crossroads, and we make a decision. Are we going to redesign the Trans Am on a new platform, not the Alpha, not the Camaro? We actually have something else in mind. We've been working with CAD data on that, actually. Or do we want to come back and look at maybe something like the 70 Judge? So it's an internal struggle right now to determine what's the best move for us and for our customers.
I didn't know GM had a new platform you could do that. Which one are we talking about here?
Can we revisit that? I got to keep something under the rug, because it's not 100% yet, but it's very strong. But yeah, I think you'll like what we have in mind.
All right, Todd Warmack, you make some pretty fun toys. Thanks for joining us in the Fox Garage to share the 70SS with us today.
Always a pleasure. Thanks, Gary.
And to read more about the 70SS and lots of other custom cars, head on over to foxnewsautos.com.